Down the Underground, a bedtime story. Did you hear the one about the boy who couldn't look into the light? Stuck inside all day long behind pebble dash walls when fun ran free in the street and the sun sung to be soaked up. Said his parents, there's hardly any sun out there, son, it's Glasgow after all. Even still, there's just enough to burn your eyes like hell, so you better well not try and leave. The whole city was at work to cure the curse. They crafted big black goggles from the bases of wine bottles and they took him to the doctor. But the doctor was fully booked, so he told them to Google it. And Google suggested hot soup. But the boy would only eat hot soup as long as there was bread on the side, and well, the city ran out of mother's pride. Holy bread was all that was left, and the priest said, fix your eyes on the crucifix. But if you've ever had a staring contest with the Son of God, you'll know who comes out on top. So the boy, older now, he went to the lover. Cried the lover, such an innocent condition. Give me 20 minutes, a bed and some protection. But the lover looked to turn on the light, look him in the eyes, and too frightened, as though cold water had come crying from a burst ceiling pipe, the boy fled the bed. And with no way to fix him, the city did the only thing left. It ripped the piss right out of him. No pain comes to pass, said the city, that can't be laughed at. So he learned to live in the dark and laugh. Nearly a man now, but not quite, he dreamed about what light might look like. And did you hear he was going home late in the day and the number 57 was delayed, as if to say, go home another way. Go down the underground instead. A trick of fate, sown by the night, a call from the unknown whispered in his ear like an owl with an envelope to set him right. Go down the underground, that's where you'll find your sight. You think you know darkness, but you've never seen anything like this. So he went to the station without any change, paid the card's transaction fee, freed from the threat of light down the underground tonight. Did you hear the one about the swirling gutter where the city could whisper its decades and secrets, utter to spin in motion an ocean of bottles and prams and prayers as trains running back round the track like clock hands enlarged to dredge up years, a second Clyde of tears to hide underground. His journey home an odyssey this day, he saw an army of slaves and tradesmen and closet gays found by their wives swaying from the ceiling. And shipbuilders with missing fingers and widows waiting on the other side of the blacked out windows. So dark it was down those city pores, he didn't need his goggles anymore. The boy tore them off. And this is the part he'd only guessed at, what the teachers might have known. A hot flash of a closing gap arrived on the track, the sound of a crack. Darker than the rumble caught in that concrete lung, blacker than the small unsung gap that city feet skip on every trip to Bridge Street. A sound bound underground till he was 17. Now it plucks him up and out of his seat, off at his stop, up and out of the tracks and into the streets. He bounced with it off every brick in the city until it made its way back to the afternoon, to the back room where it was born. You never heard the one about the closing gap between fist and face. You never heard the small landing of dark blue in this dear green place. That's the truth. They never told him what he hadn't known. That sometimes a home is just a house. Dad's a raised hand, mum's a scared woman, and the boy who couldn't look into the light. Just a joke for the bus stop. Just a bedtime story. I didn't know then that light could find the whites in eyes or paint morning on the wall. That it could turn heads to the sky, fall on a shimmering Clyde. So I'd leave the house behind, walk the city in the dark, and learn how to hide. Fly. I think I'm 5. I blow a trapped fly from a spider's web hanging from a scheme hedge. It's alive and free. This is the power. This is the gassy, dizzy, flying high mutual intoxication of rescue that will give me so much trouble when the fly is a lover stuck in their lonely trauma, and I am still too much a child that day to leave the bed and let nature have its way. House of prayer for Ryan. School took us to a house of prayer, reserved mince portions at the dinner table, marble Marys and nuns in cloth the same colour as the bricks. Priests to this country house, like police to the city we came from. I walk past them half their height and weight, and can hear the keys rattle in my head, the keys to cages smaller and hotter than I can imagine, given the mountains huge and harmless around us. So you can't deny the beauty as the bell wakes us, binds us and blows us like holy Highland wind to mass. We're each handed a list of transgressions, inky, accusatory black lines, on white more sins than I'd ever considered, a class of repenting lambs, bah, away the beauty. And I thank God for my best friend, who sighs out forced prayers with rolled eyes, says, I think I've committed every sin on here. The laugh feels like the city back. We sit and wish they'd printed on the list little boxes for us to check, so he could shout, bingo. Signs. I can't stop seeing signs and resigning myself to their prophecies. A dropped pen, you're losing your talent. The wrong choice at the restaurant, pleasure is eluding you. From the sky, a falling feather, you're finally catching your blessing. A slave to signs, finding them day and night, forgetting I was the one who dropped the pen, read the menu, and looked up at the right time. On the first night of the hike, I was stopped in my path by a brutality. A sheep locked by the horns between two beams of fence on the edge of its estate. Head slipped in with no way out. Checkmate. I moved closer to help. My presence set it alight, a wet woolen firework. The fence shook, its horns rough and skewing. I could only make it worse. Like me, it survived the night. Still there on the dawn walk back, still fighting its trap, unsheltered and wild. All the way up the path, I couldn't stop turning back, aching for some shepherd to set it free. The loneliest creature I have ever seen. In the end, I think the trap was so brutal because it had done it to itself. Doomed, but at least looking past the fence that men built. Ethan. My dad's ex-wife's toddler, who I see every now and then, told me I love you out of the blue, stomping out of the room. I return the words, thinking how easy they are for him to say, snorkel-faced, a plastic fire hydrant floating by his waist. Soon enough those words will carry innocent embarrassment, then adolescent shame, then young adult agony, before they become easy again in decades. All the flames and drowning ahead, I feel the snorkel and the fire hydrant were excellent choices. I'm Sean Lionadh. Those were some poems from my poetry book, Not Normal Anymore. Thank you so much for having me, and I really hope you enjoy the rest of the festival.